Thank you, Father Carlos, Father Acri, honored guests, and my dear brothers. I'm sure many of you are waiting for me to start speaking about some sort of giant, bear-like priest. One who says things like, "Some of us were born for this. I don't need you." A priest who smokes. There's only two of them over there. That's odd. Priest who smokes, who drinks, who curses. A priest every bit as intimidating as Father Richter from Bismarck. But today, I would like to speak to you about a priest that I met for the first time my senior year in high school. He's the most compassionate priest that I know, Father Brian Dorr. Yes, the very priest who told 2,000 high school students, "You are not special." It's the same priest that I'm now claiming as an ideal of fatherly compassion. I remember when Father Brian first accepted me as a seminarian. We were at his rectory, and at the end of an hour or two long meeting, he handed me the paperwork, and we got up to say goodbye. I held out my hand as I had always done at the end of these meetings, and he tried to kill me. He wrapped his large arms around me and started to squeeze. My breath emptied from my chest, and I was afraid I was going to snap in two. That might have been a hug, but I'm not sure. See, you wouldn't expect visible signs of affection from a priest like Father Brian, large, hyper-masculine guy. You'd think he'd suppress his emotions at all cost and simply tell his sons to rub some dirt on their suffering. That's exactly what I expected from Father Brian, but as I got to know him, I realized that he's not really a slightly disappointed wrestling coach. During my time in seminary, I've truly come to feel that I am his son. I'm his seminarian, even after he stepped down from his position as vocation director. Over and over, I've been struck by how much it hurts him when I'm not at my best, how much it hurts him when he sees me suffering. It hurts him when I'm not my best because he knows that I can be better. He knows I'm not living up to my potential as a son of God. It hurts him when I suffer because, as any good father, he feels the pain of his sons in his very person. Father Brian is incredibly attuned to the suffering of his sons. It still surprises me how quickly he's able to cut to the depths of my heart, how he's able, with just a few questions, to get me to flood all of my sorrow upon him, whether or not I was planning to. I remember in particular, there was a retreat that I was helping to lead, and I was running the confessions. The high school students, the same retreat, by the way, where he told these high school students that they're not special. But they were starting to filter out of the confession lines. Things were kind of dying down, and I was very much in business mode. For those of you who have had the honor of being on the floor with me, you know exactly what I'm talking about. No emotion, this is time to get work done. We're just going to go. And Father Brian waved me over. He sat me down next to him and started asking me how things were going, and I was very business-oriented. Classes are wonderful, and, on. And he just stopped and stared at me. He says, "It doesn't sound like you're doing very well." I said, "No, it sounds like I'm doing very well, Father." That's about all I can say about it. I don't know how he's able to penetrate so deeply, but he's always able to do it. That was totally not written down. I've got to figure out where to go in here now. But two things, really always strike me about these conversations. First is that he doesn't ever pretend to have the answer. He often admits that he doesn't understand what the Lord is doing, but he shares a piece of his own experience, and then he just sits with you through the trial. He understands that often what a man needs is just a strong support, a kind ear, and nothing more. The second thing that always strikes me is the change that comes over him. I couldn't tell you how many times we've been laughing and joking around when suddenly he'll ask one of those questions. I'll say 2 words, then immediately he goes from a huge smile to deep sorrow. You can see in his eyes how deeply he's hurt when he encounters his son's suffering. He doesn't need words to show his fatherly love. It's in his eyes. That's not to say that he doesn't affirm us, but that's just not how he communicates his love. It's his presence, his firm hand on the shoulder, the proud look in his eyes when he sees his sons. Though I'm still not sure if when he hugs me he's trying to kill me. Well, I can't really convey what his compassion has meant to me. I can show you its effects. Look at the Lafayette men. Ask them about Father Brian. I think it's rather telling that you have already heard, 5 of us now speak of Father Brian as our priest hero? We've become his disciples, or rather we've become Christ's disciples by imitating him. We imitate him as he imitates Christ because we have encountered the Father's love through him and the Father's compassion. Do you really think any of his teachings would have taken root if we didn't know that he deeply loved us? I think we've all seen cold presentations of the gospel, and they drive more away than they ever attract. That is why I believe it's his compassion, his fatherly forgetting of self, that is his most important trait. Were it not for his compassion, not one of us would have been changed by him. Were he a mere enforcer of a code of conduct, why would we have ascribed? For a time, perhaps, but without encountering love, a moral, magnanimous life is certainly not worth living. Even when he appears harsh to outsiders, those who know him can see that all he does is for love of those he serves and for love of Christ. He sees our brokenness and draws us to Christ to be healed and perfected. He then pushes us harder than most because he cannot stand the thought of one of his sons not living up to their potential. It is his fatherly love and compassion that give life to his message and make him a man worth following. Praise be Jesus Christ.
Amen.